more men do need to show up for these kids that don't belong to them, just as much as women show up for kids that don't belong to us.
If we're looking to see more men step up and become stepfathers, you have to give them a reason for it. You have to give them a reason why this child will be beneficial to them, why stepping into that role will be beneficial to them. That reason can never be changed. Describe it. Let's talk about it.
So the men are showing up and saying that they don't want to be stepdaddies to these bastard ass kids, as if your mama was not a single mom herself, or your auntie wasn't a single mom, or your grandmother. A lot of us come from that, and just like the scripture says, a man who is a fatherless to the father first is better than a man who is a husband to the widow. And what does that mean? Kids need father figures. So at the end of the day, more men do need to show up for these kids that don't belong to them, just as much as women show up for kids that don't belong to us. Women are naturally building the village. We're naturally helping one another's sisters. We're going to be watching each other's kids. Where are the men at? The next time you see that girl, you know, that has kids, instead of you just being so focused on looking up with her, maybe ask her, like, how are your kids doing? Do the kids need anything? My son agreed. Do the kids need anything? Because y'all be so quick to want to get to know mom, but it's like, you already know mom is a mom, you know? And I'm not saying you gotta spend your life savings. I'm just saying show up. Like, it doesn't take that much to show up. It's not that hard. So
it may not take much. It may not seem like it's important or it's an easy thing for men to do. Just show up. If you continue to try to shame men to say, well, you probably came from a product of a single mom, so that's why you should do this. That's not really going to move the needle. And how would I know this? Because it has been the status quo. We've constantly tried to shame men into doing things because, well, your mama black, your mama this and that. But we can understand, logically, we can understand that because you grew up in an environment, sometimes that's the greatest thing that says, I do not want to be a product of that environment. I don't want my kids potentially to struggle the same way I did. So people dedicate their lives to making sure they don't walk down the same path. They don't walk down the same road. Because a negative thing happened and experienced and you came from that, does not give carte blanche to say, well, it's happening everywhere. You should just go with it. This is how you this is how you just create that cycle or perpetuate the cycle. Again, how do you know? Because that's what's happened in the black community. You normalize the behavior and then say, hey, you should step up and eliminate or at least soften the consequences for that. But what does that teach? Nothing. That says you can do and experience your life as you want as a woman and have kids with a man that is less than, that isn't worthy of you bearing his child. And then everyone else should come up there and say, well, for the sake of community, what we need to do is come together and take care of that child. It sounds good. It sounds egalitarian, but it sounds so far from what actually happens in our society today. And I can understand, I can listen to the argument. I can listen to, hey, this is what the community needs in order for it to be better, to be prosperous. It would behoove our young boys and our young girls to have father figures in their life. The data is quite sound that you have a better outcome. The probability of you having a better outcome when you have two parents in there is unquestioned. However, how do you get the two parents in there? If you're not trying to correct the actual issue, we're looking at the symptoms and saying, well, we have fatherless homes. Okay, what is the solution? Well, get more fathers in the homes, get more stepdads in the homes. Men are saying, I hear what you're saying, but that doesn't sound like something I want to do. I don't want my life regulated to fixing a problem I didn't create. I wasn't responsible for that. I don't want to come and fix that. I get the argument. We're saying you have kids, she has kids, blended family. I get that. We're talking specifically when men do not have kids and their preferences says, I don't want to raise another man's kid. That has to be fine. That has to be allowable. You want some people to say, for the greater good, you should ignore what your life means to you. Step up and do this. While we're not paying any sort of attention to saying, why create this in the first place? Now, before we continue, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss no uploads. We're on our path to 5,000 subscribers, so we can't get there without you. So subscribe. Hype the video, share the video. We got some merch in the store. So when you try to shame men into these sort of, situations, they push back all the time. We ignore the pushback. We ignore the reasons for the pushback. All men are saying, if those who want to engage in this, the better framed argument is saying, here's the benefit. I know I have this kid, but listen, this is why I'm a better choice, or I'm just as good a choice as a single woman on the market today. These are the things I offer. Femininity. That's a fine selling point, especially for the men that have been out there to understand the game and say, okay, this is lacking. But when you simply use shame, when you try to guilt men into say, you should just do this, and you provide nothing. I've said it before in several videos, shame has lost a lot of its bite. You cannot get someone to say, let me forego the things that I have dreamed up for myself. Let me forego the desire to have my own family. Let me forego the desire to have my own child. I'll just raise yours. And then look at that man and say, okay, great. That's what you should do, as you should. One of the main issues here comes down to a thing of gratitude, of understanding that if he's doing that, that's a sacrifice. If he's doing that, where is the respect for that? Many of the issues or many of the points that men have today on being stepfathers came from stepfathers saying it's thankless that you have all the responsibility but very little authority in your own home for raising and providing for this child from such a young age to whenever. You get to watch as inadvertently, and we don't want to put this on people and say and lay blame, but sometimes there's an intrinsic need inside of you, maybe even genetically coded, to understand where you came from. It hurts when you do it at opportune moments, at milestone moments in your life. You want your father there. You want your biological. You want to see where you came from, and you want them there, say at a wedding, at a graduation. You want them there at key moments, and part of us is going to go looking. Now, when you take that person that decided it was fine for me to sleep with your mom and I left, now they get to be in an exalted, elevated position in your life just because you've got that curiosity. You've got that wonder, and you hold this person even though they have not been in your life in high regard. So what? You want them to give you away during your wedding. You want them there when you have limited tickets for your graduation. You have this ideal of what this person may be like, and then you put that person over that step parent that stepped up to do what they were supposed to do. It hurts. It makes it feel as if those years of sacrifice, of taking care of you, meant nothing, of calling you daughter, calling you son, meant nothing. These are reports that we get from actual step parents. They say, yeah, it was difficult. It hurt. Would you do it again? Absolutely not. So when we've created more spaces where we can have conversations without physically being present, men started to understand, yeah, I don't want to do that. And men started to understand, it's fine if I don't want to do that. You can't shame me into saying you have to do this. You say, we're fine, just as women say, if I can't get what I'm looking for, then I don't have to get anything. I don't have to accept this. If this is where I draw the line in the sand, I say, hey, if I can't have the type of life, the type of family that I'm looking for, then it's fine. Lastly, about the community. Community is a funny thing that we hear often. It only comes up again when there's a need for you as a man to step in and do something, to go beyond your nature, to go beyond what sometimes is simply safe for you, to cross that line and say, put your life down or put your safety at risk for the sake of the community. But if we're having a community is supposed to have clearly defined ideals, clearly defined patterns. What makes this community versus another community? We want you to have Black men to be leaders in the community. Leaders when it comes time for you to step in and take the bullet, metaphorically and otherwise. But when we're talking about, okay, what would be required for men to be leaders or to create this community? It would be you understanding you're going to have to be submissive to that leadership. You're going to have to say that we're clearly laying out where this community, the direction of the community, what allows people to be part of this community, and that requires someone to actually sit in there and lead. Well, we know submission is a nasty word in the Black community. So you can't call upon a community when it benefits you. But when that same community says something like, yeah, you shouldn't wear bonnets in college, you shouldn't wear bonnets outside, up in arms. It's time to riot. It's time to say, let's boycott. It's time to say, let's create these think pieces. So it's either you have it in totality with the flaws or the things that you don't like about the community, or you just accept, hey, you have to choose better partners. You have to be judicious when it comes down to who you decide to sleep with and have a child with. I don't think that's wrong to say. We are, and genderless, it should be completely jealous. You should be able to look and say, is this someone I want to be tied to for the rest of my life? Or am I just a little bit inebriated and having a good time? Because if that is not part of the equation and you end up in a situation where the child is not part of your, the father's not part of the child's life, and then you turn to the rest of the community and say, you need to step up, they're going to look at you and say, we don't have a community from which you to actually pull from. Now, listen, if you disagree, let me know down in the comments below. If you see other videos on your screen, check those out. Let me know your thoughts about those and those videos. And of course, if you listen to sound my voice now, you have not subscribed, I think you should. You're trying to build something dope. I'll see you in the next one.